Other witnesses in opposition, just state your name, affiliation, and in opposition.
Kyle Jones of Sierra Club, California, in opposition.
To the committee. Mr. Dolly. Mr. Dolly moves the bill. Second by Garcia. Just want to correct one thing with the amendments. In the amendments that have been agreed to, it's the owner or responsible official of the engine in the heavy-duty truck that's responsible for, that has received the incentive, is the one that must document the required renewable content by volume of fuel dispensed to the vehicle for the internal combustion engine as determined by the state board. So just so that the committee understands, we didn't get that much into the subsidy amount and trying to do that. We went deeply into what the mechanics of this should be, and the author is to be commended for trying to find a win-win between GHG reduction and NOx reduction. It is a matter of sort of scientific debate whether a natural gas vehicle in and of itself is a reduction of GHG over, say, a competing fuel like biodiesel, which is why we have required a percentage renewable, not only to do that, but also to comply with the governor's stated wishes in making sure that GHG reduction goes to renewables. This provides a realistic level of renewable, probably a very conservative small level of renewable, but allows that to be adjusted per the market conditions at the time by the ARB. However, those that get the fuel, the engine and the fuel early will have the added incentive of being able to lock that in to early. So in fact, it hopefully will be an incentive for truckers for early adopters in the trucking community, because if they're worried about the renewable amount going up, then they should buy it earlier to get that percentage locked in. So hopefully the mechanics of that is somewhat clear. And Mr. Dolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to commend the author for bringing this bill forward. I'm in the trucking business, and I have had to deal with the regulatory processes of AB 32, and I understand that. And quite frankly, I don't think we can get to a electric commercial truck anytime soon and actually haul some freight. We may be able to haul the battery around that pushes the truck around, but I don't know if we'll actually move any goods. This is a good intermediate process that we can do today that would actually reduce emissions. And so I know that you took a lot out of the bill to move it along. I would have been happy to move the bill as it was, and I look forward to working with you. This is a good common sense approach to doing good things for business that are being regulated, and it's not a matter of getting there first and getting in line. It's a matter of, do you have the resources to even do it? The trucks that I own are worthless because nobody else wants them, and there was a value before we went into the regulatory environment. So anything you can do to help businesses move forward, I appreciate that, and I really appreciate you working with the chairman to get this bill moving forward, and I will definitely be supporting it.
Ms. Garcia.
I want to thank the author for bringing this bill forward and working to try to find that compromise. And I do forgive you for calling me on a Sunday to talk about your bill numerous times. But it speaks to the work that you were trying. Yeah, I felt like sometimes. Okay, it was a long call. But it speaks to the fact that you're trying to find that middle spot where we're pragmatic with the reality that we live in, and we find an interim, responsible solution here, and we move forward. I know that the previous people that spoke in opposition talked about how this was an extension of a previous bill, and it might stifle innovation or movement in the area, but this bill is different in the fact that we're adding a 10% renewable piece in there, and so I think that should not be lost. And while it's modest, it is a direction that we're moving in. I have 6. It's sad when I can say I have more than Boyle Heights. That's more freeways than Boyle Heights that strangle myself and my constituents. I have 6 of them, 2 of them being major corridors for transportation between the Port of Long Beach and the rail yards, which are on both ends of my district also. And so we're seeing this every day, and we talk about all of the positive movements we've seen in policy and innovation and renewables, but the reality is that I'm still breathing in that smog and that batter on a regular basis with my constituents. And so this would be a small reprieve for all of us. And so I want to thank you for working on that. I know myself included appreciates any sort of reduction in the interim while we get to that point where we could have these large trucks that can be completely EV down the road one day. And so thank you for that work, and thank you to the chairman, who I know worked hard also to try to find a spot where some of us have to get out of our comfort zone, but we have something pragmatic that will be beneficial to my constituents.
I'm going to give the comments over to Mr. Stone and also the gavel because UNC is closing out, so we'll be right back.
All right, then. This was a tough bill when I first read it, and I appreciate that you were working with the chair to take the amendments. And the thing that we struggle with as we're moving towards cleaner air standards and GHG reduction is the disparate impact on various communities. And one of the reasons that I do want to support this bill is because it is one of the attempts to try and clean up some of the areas that have been affected most negatively by our policies. We've moved along, and yes, we can move to electric vehicles and do things as people can afford them, but the fact of the matter is that in some of our poorer communities, they have been for a long time carrying the brunt of our policies before. This allows us to put some of the money where it'll have the best impact in those communities, and I appreciate that, and I think sometimes we need to keep that in mind as we move policy forward and be very cognizant of which areas we're hurting or benefiting as we do policy, and I think this is a good balance in that sense, and I appreciate the work that you've done on this bill. Any other comments from committee members? All right, seeing none, Mr. Perea, you may close.
Actually, I think I'll use your comments as my close. I mean, I really want to thank you for acknowledging that this really, when we look at climate change and dealing with air pollution, we really do need to look at regional approaches. And I think, looking for opportunities for every region to participate in a cleaner, greener environment and also creating jobs is very important. And so I think AB 57 represents that. It's an important step in the right direction and taking a balanced approach. I know that there's a greater desire for EVs and hydrogens. I know because I carried AB 8 last year, which is creating the hydrogen fuel network. Fueling network, and so I understand the value of moving in that direction. At the same time, we have certain industries who will not be there for a very long time, and so what do we do in the meantime? How do we help transition those industries in a way that helps reduce greenhouse gases in addition to allowing for cleaner air, especially in districts like mine that I represent, where I have trades goods corridors like the I-5 and 99 running through with very many diesel trucks. And I know this because I drive it every Monday and Thursday back and forth from Sacramento, and I'm always stuck behind these trucks, these diesel trucks. And so I think moving towards renewable and/or clean natural gas, conventional natural gas, gives us an opportunity to help transition an industry that I think wants to be a part of the solution. And so with that, respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Assemblymember Williams, Dolly, Garcia, Hadley, Harper. Aye. Harper, aye. McCarty.
Aye.
McCarty, aye. Rendon. Stone.
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wood. Aye. Wood, aye. 4 aye.
4 aye votes, but we're a little thin right now.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
keep it on call. Thank you. Who's next on the list? So, Mr. Mathis? Mr. Mathis. That brings us to item 16, AB 956.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon.
Members. AB 956 would exempt from CEQA review water recycling projects undertaken by local agencies in response to the drought. Projects that would provide vital drinking and sanitation resources to people in communities whose groundwater wells have run dry or have fallen below health standards. In my own district, the residents of East Porterville are nearly completely reliant upon individual groundwater wells. The latest numbers show that over 700 households have run dry and left over 7,000 residents without water for drinking or basic sanitation. They can't even turn on the tap or flush a toilet. Members, this bill will expedite water to all communities across the state by eliminating the delays and costly litigation related to CEQA for water recycling projects. In a state with the 8th largest economy in the world, running a sink, taking a shower, or even flushing a toilet has become an act of luxury. Yet while we strangle vital life-giving water projects in the state with years and years of environmental red tape, sports stadiums, one under construction mere 6 blocks away, gets a pass. And it's not just the Kings Arena. According to a 2013 San Francisco Gate article, the following stadiums were granted special environmental treatment in one form and another. In 1997, an exception to the state law allowed the San Francisco Giants to begin sending eviction notices to tenants on the site of a proposed 42,000-seat ballpark before an environmental review was completed. In 2013, a legislative finding for the Golden State Warriors that their arena project is consistent with, quote, public trust of waterfront property. And in 2009, a measure to limit court challenges under CEQA for a 75,000-seat stadium in the San Gabriel Valley. What I am proposing is that we make the same rules for billion-dollar sports teams apply to everyday Californians. According to the Association of California Water Agencies, an additional 1.4 million to 1.7 million acre-feet of wastewater in the state could be recycled by 2030. That level of recycling would go a long way towards meeting the needs of 17 million additional residents that California will have by then. The severity of the demands that we act as quickly as possible to help expand our water portfolio. This bill is a responsible, meaningful step in that direction. And with that, I welcome the committee's comments or questions.
Thank you. Your witnesses in support. Are there any witnesses in support? Seeing none, any witnesses in opposition?
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. Kyle Jones, the Sierra Club California, in opposition to this bill. We understand there's a serious problem in the Central Valley, but we don't think that this bill is the right way to address it. My understanding of the regulatory scheme that there is now, there's no way to simply recycle wastewater and provide it directly to people for drinking water. Current recycled water projects throughout the state take recycled water, inject it underground, pull it back up. So at this time, we're creating an exemption for a multitude of projects. We don't know what they would be or their lasting effects on the environment. Without a CEQA analysis, we're not sure whether or not we're causing damage now or in the future. We think that this bill goes too far, and we urge your no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness in opposition.
Clean Water Action in opposition. This is Andrew Grinberg.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, bring it back to the committee and the chair.
Move the bill. Second. It's a motion by Dolly, second by Harper. Let me just open up my page to the right item. In representing cities that have recycled water projects, I do not find that there is any evidence that CEQA is an obstacle to water recycling projects. the governor has been very willing to use any incentive to provide for more recycled water, and to do drought response actions through executive order. So there is no need for this bill. I do believe that we should be doing more water recycling, but this is not the way to do it. And I invite water agencies to bring forward projects to us right now, because through Proposition 1, we have made a one-for-one match for recycled water out there, and not only for the water recycling, but for the purple pipe infrastructure, which is truly important. So with that, the chair's recommendation is no. Mr. Wood.
Yeah, I would just like to make a couple comments. First of all, I appreciate the intent of what you're trying to do. If you go back and look at the governor's January 2014 drought declaration, it actually gives authority to the State Water Resources Control Board, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, to move a lot of things forward in the order. And I will read from point number 10. The state's drinking water program will work with local agencies to identify communities that may run out of drinking water and provide technical and financial assistance to help these communities address drinking water shortages. It will also identify emergency interconnections that exist among the state's public water system that can help with these threatened communities. I use the governor's declaration in my own local community to work with the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the State Water Resources Control Board to push a drought-related recycle water project forward. And I did that because of the governor's drought declaration, because I believed it had the power. And ultimately, I was correct when the State Water Resources Control Board worked with me on that. So we worked within CEQA. We had a mitigated negative declaration that allowed us to move forward on this project. So I think that there are other avenues that can be used for your communities, and every regional water quality control board handles it differently. But I think based on this and then the later declaration that the governor made, that the resources are there to be able to move something forward, especially within a drought, because it's all been done by executive orders. So I really appreciate where you're coming from, but I won't be able to support the bill.
Would you like to close?
Absolutely. First off, there's a difference between moving forward and expediting. What I'm asking for is to expedite the process, to cut the red tape so folks can break ground. Members, this does not just help the folks in my communities. This helps across the state. This lets us use every last drop of water more efficiently. We've been hit with a 25% reduction to cut back. What my bill would do would help move forward so people could keep their lawns. This helps everybody across the entire state. This means not just water for people's lawns, not just water for people to flush their toilets. This is water for people. This is water for ag. This is water across the entire board for the entire state. Again, I urge you to reconsider, to place it in your heart, and think about how you can help everybody across the state immediately instead of just moving forward. Thank you.
I also want to offer to the author that in the research that we've been doing, one of the big impediments for many communities is residence time with some of the kind of projects that you're thinking about. So I think we will be looking at the regulatory route and what impediments are in the regulatory route, and we will be happy to inform them. But for now, there really isn't evidence that CEQA is the major obstacle to this, and so the chair's recommendation is no. There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Assemblymember Williams?
No.
Williams, no. Dally? Aye. Dally, aye. Garcia? No. Garcia, no. Hadley? Aye. Hadley, aye. Harper? Aye. Harper, aye. McCarty? No. McCarty, no. Rendon? Stone? No. Stone, no. Wood? No. Wood, no. It's got 3 ayes.
3 aye votes. We'll leave it on call. Mr. Mullen?
Thank you for your time.